be the one in 1,000 that can make a life out of it, I mean, that's depressing. Like, if you're just sitting there like, this is what I'm good at, I know this is what I'm good at, and this is what my passion is, and I have no way to convert that into a life, you know? So I think that's a big issue with just being an artist in general at anything. I think that has a lot to do with it. There's a lot of confounding things, I'd say. But I mean, that's definitely that's definitely what I've struggled the most with a lot of the times, you know? It's just like I said, I didn't know what else to do, and I didn't have a passion for other things, and it's hard to convert that to an actual life.
That's the cool thing about being a Māori artist.
To show me that was possible. Uncle Sam voice. That I am. A phone number, although it's you're being to succeed. Me being left alone at home with gangsters. What is this? Master.
Tēnā koutou e te whānau, nau mai haere mai ki te Paperback Gorillas, the podcast for mana enhancing kōrero that we think is worth our time sharing and your time hearing, ko Peter Barrett tōku ingoa. And in this episode I'm sitting down with PNC, who's one of the best rappers in Aotearoa. Of course we talk a bit about Sam or PNC's career as an artist in Aotearoa and the pressures that come with that and the realities that come with that. But Sam's also currently studying psychology at university, and so we get into some deeper kaupapa than that too. We talk about the connection between culture and mental health or wellness, and Sam approaches this from his perspective as an afakasi or half-caste Samoan. We talk about the therapeutic possibilities of rap music and how it might just be the answer to road rage in Aotearoa. We covered a whole bunch of topics in this kōrero and had a whole lot of fun. I hope you enjoy listening. Called Peter Barrett tēnei. This is Peter Barrett, and on the other end of the World Wide Web, we've got the bro Sam. I'll throw the mic over to Sam to introduce himself.
Yo, what's up? Yeah, my name's Sam. People probably know me better as PNC.
So let's start off with that. What are you up to at the moment? What are you doing?
Like my main thing at the moment is I'm at university, so I'm doing a psychology degree. I'm just finishing that now. I'm in my last semester, and music as well at the same time. So I've been over the last I started uni 2.5 years ago, and I sort of been working on music the whole time, working on different ways of putting music out there. So yeah, it's really like a balancing act between those two things, uni and rap. Yeah.
And we were just talking before I hit record about some of the the overlaps between the psych work that you're doing and the learning that you're doing and music, and kind of what you want to how you eventually want to put those things together. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? And we can edit this out if you don't, because don't want to reveal the idea when you're putting it together.
No, yeah. There's I guess like music, and especially rap, it's always like there's such a introspection, or the psychology aspect of it is always pretty strong in the music. It always has been. Like all the rappers I loved growing up had that sort of like introspective vibe to it. So, and my mum was a counselor, and I've sort of just grown up around it, and I've always been real interested in it. And yeah, and it's still a long way down the line. Like I said earlier before we started, I'm going to still be at uni for the next few years doing postgraduate. So I want to implement those things with music, like how you can use music as a type of therapeutic nature, not just getting things off your chest, but like just the sense of achievement that you get from music and things like that. Whether you can combine those with therapy for people, that stuff really interests me. Yeah, but it's still a long way down the line how that would work.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
I was talking about some chats that I was having with some kids out at a college down here in Porirua about expressing yourself, and how as a young man, especially Māori and Pacifica even more so, we're not encouraged to articulate our emotions, right? And I kind of went through this exercise with these kids, and we put up these rap lyrics on the wall of, from different artists. And, Drake was an easy example. It was like, what do you think Drake is saying when he, with these lyrics? And, kind of going through that process with the kids, to getting to the point of saying like, oh, he was saying that he's obviously about to get into a relationship with somebody, and he's worried about being vulnerable, and he's worried about going out on a limb with this person that he's getting into a relationship with, because he's been hurt before. And it was just interesting talking to them about the difference in perception of like that conversation, if it was just happening in front of them, versus that happens to be in couplets on a mean beat, and it's from somebody with a reputation like Drake, and they interpret that entirely different. Like, it's cool, it's mean that he's getting, that song is mean. And that was quite interesting. And what I was going to say before, bro, is there was this, I was talking as well with somebody in there. Their mahi was coming into the classrooms and sitting down with boys, especially mostly Pacifica and Māori boys, and getting them to just sitting with them and being with them and letting them talk their emotions out loud amongst their peers. And they were just talking about some of the stuff that comes up in those conversations is, getting really deep into their emotions, and that's really unusual for them. But because they felt comfortable with that mentor or that teacher aide there doing it with them, they were able to do it. And they were talking about things like, I wish I didn't get as many hidings from my parents, and that this is how that makes me feel, and just getting into these really, actually getting these kids to articulate their emotions. Like, there's 100 different ways to do it, right? But the more you can do it, the better, because like you either process that stuff or it just sits inside you, and we deal with it.
I think for kids, for our culture, it's that sort of like you look up to like this idea of like stoicism, of being like that is the ultimate guy, or is to stiff up a lip and not talk, so it's like this. I think when I did this music thing with our mate Wes at his school, and I think one of the big things was it's just even this sense of like an identity is what was like a lot of the time. I think kids don't even, what they liked about it was just writing. I got them to just write down about their life, like simple stuff, what street they live on, like things like that, or like who their cousins or something. And I think that's like a starting point for that. But yeah, you're right. It's like this idea of like, people look up to like All Blacks who are like, really, it's kind of a dishonesty. Like, you'll ask them, they'll talk and they just will almost say they're not good or something, They'll be like, and it's like, what? So you're taught to like, the less you say about yourself, the better, so you have it's kind of like this, you have no identity and you shouldn't be proud of anything. What's the worst thing you could be? A try hard, literally to try hard. Or what's the best thing you can do? Don't ever try hard. Or like the best thing you can be is humble. Like, and that's what how you grow up in New Zealand, especially I think for males. So and like rap is the opposite of that, so rap is like just constantly saying how good you are. But that's the cool thing about hip hop is like you get this like all emotions sort of at once at this like hyper level, but then you'll get this like sort of brutal honesty or this earnest nature to it that I think I love what attracted me to the music a lot. Whereas guys like growing up listening to like Tupac or something, he's like, it's just, he'll talk about wanting to kill someone and then sticking up for women's rights and then and then I want to kill myself and just like it'll be all over the show. So I think there's a real difference to our culture with hip hop that I've always was attracted to as a way of getting out of that culture, I think, a little bit, and being more proud to put yourself out there.
Yeah, and I mean that's like that point around Puck had these super violent, aggressive outlets, basically those songs, outlets for his aggression at the time, and then he had these beautiful odes to his mum and all of that other stuff, and the depths of feeling that Puck went into, and that's just human, right? Like that is literally the experience of being human. Like on any given day, you could fluctuate between those emotions, but then you're right. Like we have in New Zealand, and especially for Pacifica and for Māori, kind of goes another layer even above the regular New Zealand tall poppy type, stiff upper lip type situation. Is that we're just told to not acknowledge that, and then you're basically denying your humanity.
Exactly, right.
Just pretend to be on an even keel all day, every day. Like,
yeah, and that there's you should be, celebrated for never talking about anything. I mean, it just doesn't make any. It doesn't work for anyone, and it's such it's such an issue for people in our country. So,
right. Bro, so talking about the your music and your career and what you're up to now, what would you say you are most proud of in or outside of your career, actually? So I kind of started that wrong.
In music, I guess what I'm most proud of is having been able to do it for this long, and sort of never feeling like I fell off with it or something. I've kind of felt like I've always been like getting better or like learning more, and just being able to do it for I put my first album out 2006, so it's going on 15 years, and I still love doing it and still have a like viable career. People are still interested in the music, and so just I guess it's so hard in this country to do it for that long. I've had been lucky in a lot of ways, but I think that's what I'm most proud of, it to have sort of built something and a body of work to be just proud of, like the amount of songs I've put out, and I've never felt like it's got worse or anything like that. So that, with the music, I
mean, and what about outside of music?
Just where I'm at now, at my age, to finishing up a degree now, I'm sort of happily married, and to have got here is I'm sort of stoked with my situation now. So that's simple, I guess.
I mean, it's funny, like the last few people I've asked that same question have said exactly that. Like the thing that I'm most proud of is actually being able to is the longevity side of it, to have been able to keep doing this thing, and I've usually preempted that question with another question of like, are you doing the thing that you love at the moment? Which, I mean, I'm assuming the answer to that is yes, from yourself. So what do you think has meant that you have been able to keep going? Like, what would have prevented you from keeping going? I guess might be a better question.
Yeah, I guess like how you're saying, other people have said that it is like that sort of, you toughed it out when it got hard or something, like, so what would have prevented me? I see that there's a lot of things along the line you're like, I could have, if I'd done this or done that, it mightn't have happened. I actually think for myself, for music, I think it's kind of been like always sort of like I never like blew up or had like a number one song or something. And I actually think in some ways that has been better for my longevity, like, I don't know if you have, I just sort of, who knows, but I sort of wonder about that sometimes, like you're just always in this I've always sort of stayed at this level where I'm just solidly making music, but I've never got like too carried away with it, you know? So, or like I never like completely had some huge failure or something, you know? And I guess like a lot of people in music or whatever, if you have a super high, then it's a long way down, you know? So yeah, I'm kind of happy with that. So, but yeah, I think I just stuck at it so long because I just still love the music, always have loved making music, and it's the process of making music is what I like the most, like by far. It's writing the songs, being in the studio and putting the song together, and then that feeling of when the song's done. Like that's by far what I love the most about making music. It's not as much the, you know, even performing or like hearing people's reaction, to be honest. It's more it's really just the process of making it that I like. So I guess that helps a lot with if you're more into performing or you're more into like you want to see people's reaction more than anything, then I can see how that would get disheartening if things didn't work, you know. So I think that's helped me a lot.
Yeah, I mean that probably rounds out that first thing you said, right? Like if you're motivated by the process, and that process is something that you are completely in control of, and you don't have to, whether or not that feedback loop is completed is entirely up to you, right? Yeah. Like the audience reaction has no bearing on it.
Exactly. I think my like validation from being a musician just comes from making a song and being proud of the song when it's done. It's not from the response to it or how successful it is outside. It's so I just keep making them, you know, because I'm that's the high I get is when the song's done, you know.
Yeah. Do you think that's, I mean, you know, your outrageous call before where you said that, you know, a lot of rappers about, you know, talking about yourself and how much of the man you are, which is obviously exactly what it is. Like, do you think that plays a part? Because I was going to ask, and it's the only real genre that I've ever paid any real attention to, so I've got no real frame of reference, but hip-hop in New Zealand has always seemed to have a super short tenure, right? Like people come in and go hard, and then and then a lot of them disappear from the public eye, I guess. Like they might come out with a commercial song, and then they have no more songs that you ever hear of or see. And do you think that's got something to do with what you just said? Like some people probably get into hip hop for that audience reaction and for that validation of them talking about how much of the man or how good they are, how much of the woman they are. That's obviously an easy thing to get disheartened from. Yeah. Once that feedback loop stops, right? And so it's like, well, what am I doing it for? I'm out of here.
For sure. I'm definitely sure there's some people like that who, you know, have big dreams of like just being superstars, and it doesn't work out. Obviously that happens. But to just be a musician, like you can't, it's so hard to be a full-time musician as it is, right, in New Zealand, like no matter how successful you are. So to try and be, also if you have a passion for it, you really want to do it full-time and give it your all. But then it's like pretty much financially it's so hard to do. After a while, it's just like, you know, responsibilities start coming into life for a lot of people, I'm sure. And then it's sort of like that sort of idea where like, oh, well, I gave it a go, but now I got to do actual life, you know?
And that means that I can't. Yeah. And then that means I can't rap, right? Like I feel like that's where, for a lot of people, it does seem to be kind of all or nothing, you know, and that's I guess if that's the motivation, like your motivation is actually to be seen as anything, then you kind of have to stop, because if no one sees you, then you have no feedback loop, right? You have no motivation. Yeah, exactly. And I mean,
it's a weird situation in New Zealand where you could have you could be super successful and super famous, but it's actually like not viable to be as a living. So you find yourself in weird situations, you know, like whereas like you're as famous as like not famous as sort of successful as someone in the States would be. They'd be millionaires, but here you're probably still starting off on the like PACE benefit or something. You're still on that. So, like it's so hard trying to do music in New Zealand, and I mean, I had a lot of things sort of go my way. A lot of it's just that it's just me after a while, and then it's more viable for just one person. But yeah, bro, it's a hard task.
Well, yeah, bro. Congratulations on carrying on doing it and on evolving, right, and on doing things differently. You know, there's like the Fade the Public thing is kind of completely different to what you were doing in 2006 or even 2003 when your breakout single "Be My Heart" when it was released.
We're platinum in the hood.
But like that is actually something to be proud of and to celebrate and to be stoked with.
Yeah, thanks, man.
And then so I guess like part of the kaupapa and the purpose of this podcast is about hopefully talking through how you've gone about getting to the point of doing the work that you love. So how did you get to this point, I guess, of being on the path to doing the work that you love? Because if we think you're always evolving and you're always adapting to always adapting that passion and that love of the process to do it differently, how did you get to the point of being able to do that?
Do you mean right now, like, or just
I guess, getting like how did you find that you loved music?
Right. Yeah, I think I always just music was the most important thing to me. Like since I can remember like anything, because I remember like I used to tape music videos off TV when I was like 4 or 5, and I think that's not as normal for kids that are more into like cartoons or something. But I just wanted to watch like Bobby Brown videos, So music's always been sort of the most important thing to me. I guess it's really just African American culture in all ways, sports as well. I was just obsessed with it. So I always had this next level love for music. And then I guess the main part from becoming a musician was in school, there was nothing that I really gravitated towards. And I knew that I would never do something I didn't love, and I sort of had, I had my mum was sort of raised me like that, you got to find something you love. And there was nothing sort of academic wise that I gravitated towards. So when I'd finished school, it was sort of coincided with the time where I got sort of obsessed with how music was made, It was especially like people like sort of Jay-Z and Outcast in the late 90s. I was just like really influenced by that music and really the idea of songwriting, writing lyrics. So it was kind of just, it was a lot of it was there was nothing else I wanted to do. So just like, it wasn't like, I guess a lot of people sometimes are picking between what they want to do, as their career. They're like, I'll do this career later, or you know what I mean? I was never like, I'll start my studies in accounting or something soon. But it's like, this is actually what my biggest passion is hip hop music, and it just sort of naturally happened. Yeah, it was an organic kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean that's interesting to hear that you there was nothing that you gravitated towards at school, but that's true for, I don't know, I feel like probably 80% of kids at school, right?
True.
So then it kind of sounds like for you the key was more that understanding or belief that you should do something that you love. Which sounds like it came from your mum. And that is probably, I don't know, that sounds like a key factor, right, in getting to the point of doing the thing that you love.
Yeah.
Because without that understanding and without that belief, there's probably two things, right? Like the understanding that you should, and then there's the believing that you can. Follow your dream, do the thing that you love. Because when I was at school, like I always wanted to be a rapper, and so did probably 10 other kids at school. And probably the only reason that I went and tried to, and I was a rapper in the sense that I wrote raps. Like I went and tried writing raps, probably just because I had those role models like my mum and dad and aunties and uncles who did things that they loved doing, and that was by osmosis I just believed that I could do the thing that I wanted to do because I saw them doing the same.
Yeah, exactly. I think even my mum was never like, you got to do what you love or something. Like she was more like, it was more like,
thing I will tell you, Sam.
Yeah. It wasn't as much that, but it was more the like wouldn't tell you not to do something, you know? If I had like people in my life that were like, oh, what is that? Get a real job or something, you know, like, or you need to be at uni studying this and that and sort of forcing something to happen. That could have easily derailed me doing music, you know? I think there's heaps of, my setup was like, even being an only child, I think there's like, you don't have like, I think only children just think they can do whatever they want, you know? In some ways. Like I heard this thing the other day that said, it said like only children aren't as jealous of people as they don't feel jealousy as much, but it's because they have like such strong narcissism that they can't understand. They don't even comprehend someone being more better or more important. So I think like
it's never an issue.
They're like, well, I'm not jealous of him. How can that's ridiculous.
He's obviously not as good as me.
Yeah, not on my level, obviously. Nah, but that's like over the top, you know. But like, I think there's a little bit of that where you, so I was like an only child with a solo mum who was always just real supportive in whatever I wanted to do. So I was real lucky with that setup that I could pursue something like that and not be told, you know, you need to do something else if however long it was taking or something. And I didn't have responsibilities, like I didn't have kids young or I didn't get married or anything, so I didn't have the same kind of responsibilities. So a lot of things sort of worked in my favor that way.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, like if I think to when I dropped out of uni, dropped out of uni with 3 papers left, so it's kind of like the dumbest time to drop out of uni. But after my car accident, when I realized like, I'm not loving the process of uni, so I kind of had that moment of going, shit, like I shouldn't be even engaging in this process then if I'm not loving it and enjoying it. And I remember telling mum that, you know, I'm going to drop out of uni because you know, I feel like what I should be doing right now is focusing on music. Like I'm really loving that. Like that was that moment was in that moment. She was exactly that person that you've just described, right? She didn't say like, that's ridiculous. You've got 3 papers left. You should finish off your degree. She was just kind of, all right, well, you know, you do what you got to do.
Yeah. Cause I think it's important.
Do what you love.
No, I think they were the same. Where I think the worst thing is if you got to 40 years old or something and you hadn't given it a go of something you loved, because that regret that will never go away, you know. And like, well, because you never even tried it, you know. Whereas if you've at least given it all you can, whether it's whatever it is, like music, sport, or I don't know, whatever you want to be a painter or something, like just you have to, I think it's important to try to do it at least, and I think they probably recognize that as well, you know, because that's like my biggest fear is like, you know, resenting things later in life, or that's not healthy for anyone.
Nah. Was there a moment for you when, when you kind of realized that, that dream that you'd had of from being obsessed with culture and being obsessed with the process of making music was now a reality? Like was something that you were actually living?
Yeah, I guess when I sort of came out to Auckland, and I guess when I started doing music especially with like Dirty and P Money, and that's when I actually had a record contract. So, but I guess earlier than that, it was when people recognized that or told me they liked the music, because you kind of, something like that when you're that young, you're like, I love this and I am trying my hardest to make it, but then you just kind of don't know whether you're good or not. You might feel, I think I'm good, and then you find out you're not at all or something. So I guess it was when other people from outside of my friend group and stuff sort of started reacting to the music. It's when I was like, oh yeah, this could, maybe I can do this a bit. And then properly when I moved up to Auckland and started doing shows with on a bigger scale and started releasing music and stuff. That's when I started thinking I'd not that I'd made it, but that I'd got to a point where I wasn't just a bedroom rapper anymore,
Yeah, I mean, and speaking of being a bedroom rapper, like I remember when you were living in Wellington and you got the call to sign to Breaking Records, and that was a something that you needed to sit down and kind of really think about, because I think it meant, I think that was when you were going to move up to Auckland, right? I can't really remember the whole thing, but I remember it being like something that you needed to really sort out in your head. How did that thought process go? Because that was obviously a key decision that you made in your, in that path to, like you said, not making it, but actually kind of really doing the thing that you love on a different scale.
Yeah, I guess it's like that. You got to take a leap of faith, and I think it's like you're saying. It was a situation where the last thing I wanted was to regret that I hadn't given it a go. I just wanted, like I said, it was all I cared about, really. When I was in Wellington, when I first met you, I was doing like a course at the time, but it was just a part-time thing for me, really. I didn't have any major motivation to do it. All I loved was trying to make music and get better at making music. So it was more like a situation of, well, what else am I going to do right now? I go back to fielding and work at KFC again, give this a go. So it was just sort of
spending all your money, or stay in Wellington and keep spending all your money at Zebo's.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it wasn't that hard of a decision, really. I mean, like I said, it wasn't a situation where I was leaving something else behind or choosing between two lives or something. I was young enough where I felt like I could give it a go. My uncle lived up in Wellington. He was happy for me to stay with him while I got on my feet, and things sort of moved rapidly when I got there. So it paid off quickly.
The kind of jumping back a little bit to the talk that we were having before around studying, because you sound like, whenever I think through people doing, and myself as well, doing things that they love or like really enjoying their life, it always seems like there's a purpose behind that process. And then like you say, they try to start that process, and then they find that they love that process, and that's then what kind of completes that feedback loop, right? You go, okay, cool, like I'm motivated enough to try it, to take that leap of faith, like you said, and that whenever I usually when I've seen that, and for myself, it's normally you take that leap of faith because you believe in what it might achieve, not so much in the fact that you might love the process. So like, Sarah, do you feel like you have an underlying purpose in getting to that process, so like a reason for making music, or is it just literally like just the feedback loop of loving the process? Because I mean, that's obviously enough to keep you going.
Yeah, I guess it's doing something creative. I think I've always had a thirst to do something creative at all times. To be like when I was a little kid, I just used to sketch pictures of basketball players or something. Like, it's just always that I have to be doing something that's creative, and that obviously moved into music. And that's a big part of it. But then even moving into university now, it's still just writing. It's the process of writing. And uni's cool because you're writing an essay that's finished, it's done, and then you get a grade for it and stuff. So it's that same creative process, So I think it's just that itch that I need to do something creative. I have to be working on something like that every day. That's in my head, that I'm focused on. So that's the sort of broad idea. I think I can't ever remember, being alive and not trying to do something creative. Yeah, or like sport. When I played sport, that's all just like at high school and stuff. It's all basketball is just creative as well. It's all it's all the same.
Were you from memory, and maybe this is just because I thought all of me and all of my mates were doing it, but were you kind of more half-assed when you were studying at uni in Wellington?
Yeah, I was doing a design course, and that was like, definitely was half-assed. Like, it was something I kind of was into, but even when I was doing that, I was always trying to like move it towards like putting like rappers or something in the design stuff, so you could even look back at that work and you just be like, this guy just likes rap and basketball, so it was one of those things when you're doing it, you're like, I don't actually want to do this as a job, I guess like even what you're saying at uni, you're like, I have no passion for this, but this is cool. This is something I get to go to daily, and I can flat in Wellington and be there for a reason other than just on the dole or something. But so it was definitely a heart. I wasn't giving it my full heart. Real quickly at the start, I realized it wasn't something I wanted to do majorly, and my focus was more on music. Yeah.
And now for a word from our sponsors.
Paperback Gorillas is brought to you by Kapiti Island Honey, the finest honey on the... Nah, we're not really sponsored. Kapiti Island Honey is just the koha that we give to our manuhiri or guests to say thank you for their time. But as well as the decent chunk of time that it takes us to prepare, have and share these kōrero, it does also cost us the financial equivalent of a few nice meals out each month just to host and record them and to then get them out to listeners like yourself. We pay that cost because we believe the kaupapa is worth it, and we believe that the mātauranga or the knowledge that our manuhiri or guests have spent a lifetime learning is worth paying to share with you. If you believe that as well and you've enjoyed this episode, then please think about donating by becoming a patron. To thank you for your support, you'll get exclusive access to the episodes and kōrero before the rest of the world. I'll send you behind the scenes footage and videos whenever I can, as well as my favourite whakaaro and favourite learnings from each of the episodes, which I take the time to write down after each kōrero. All of these are exclusive to our Paperback Gorilla whānau and patrons, and you can only get them by heading to patreon.com/paperbackgorillas and signing up to be a patron. That's patreon.com/PAPERBACKGUERRILLAS. This is also the part of the show where I send a big mihi, a big thank you to the patrons currently supporting our kaupapa. So Atawhai, Tana, Anaru, Ena, Arama and Lincoln, thank you for your support. Thank you for helping keep the podcast going. Kia ora. Being connected to something bigger, like culture, is a big part of mental health, right? And we've talked about that before. Do you think being half caste, so kind of living in those two worlds, has helped you in your sense of not sense of, but helped you in your mental health and how you feel about yourself, or made it hard?
Yeah, it definitely has. I think, like I always come from the place of where I think I'm being a half-caste has been a massive advantage growing up. Whereas a lot of things you read, or there's sort of this narrative that half-caste people are confused, not, you're not brown enough to be brown, not white enough to be white, But it's a lot with how I was raised. I was raised by my mum who's white in a white family. I didn't have anything to do with my Samoan side, but I obviously look really Samoan or brown. So I'm treated by the world as Samoan, but I actually grew up in this white family, Pākehā family. But my mum was always proud of me being Samoan and was always talk to me about, my Samoan side. So I had a real, I felt I belonged to both while also being half-caste is its own thing. You know what I mean? I always feel like people, if you look at so many people around the world that are so successful, and especially the things we like, they are half-castes, So it is its own culture. It shouldn't be, looked down on. Or so I even wrote this paper at uni called The Half-Caste Advantage. It was because you had to write about some cultural thing, and a lot of the literature I read was all this stuff about how do half-castes, how to help them with being confused or something, or just studying why, how they feel out of place in the world. And I was kind of in my head, I've never felt like that. But I think like I said, my upbringing helped a lot with that. But I always and I still see it like that. I feel at ease in all situations, So yeah, I never felt I felt like half-caste is its own culture. Yeah.
And there's probably you have a doubled ability to empathize, right? I think if you look at ignorance and racism and all that stuff, it's ultimately about an inability to empathize and to go, oh cool, somebody is different to me, and they might experience the world differently to me, and that's all good. Racism always is just this is how I see the world, and how I experience the world is the world, and full stop. Whereas I guess being we automatically get this ability to go, cool, I can see that perspective, and I can see that perspective, and therefore, without even going into the details of those perspectives, I know that there is more than one truth or reality or experience or interpretation of the world and this problem or whatever the thing is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think you see it from both sides, and yeah, like I said, my family, my household was Pākehā, and even Palmerston North is quite a Pākehā sort of place. But then I am brown, so I've encountered racism in life and stuff. I can remember when I was little, and we first moved to Fielding, and I was reading a magazine in the store, and then these kids stole a magazine beside me, these white kids, and they took off. And then I left as well, and they chased me. they were searching me for the magazines and stuff. And I was it's the first time I can remember it. I was they literally just hit me up because I was the brown one, and those guys took it. So yeah, you kind of know how it is both ways. And yeah, I've always thought of it, like I said before, an advantage in life, where you can see all perspectives, and you feel comfortable in all those realms, and it does give you a broader way of just understanding society, I guess. Yeah,
that's that is the other half of the being followed around the store, right? Being followed around the store, and it being assumed that you're going to steal something because you're brown.
Yeah.
Some Pākehā kids just stole something, and I'm going to assume that it was you because you're brown.
Yeah, exactly, man. Yeah, it was crazy.
Back to the kind of some of the mental health stuff. Some of my my favorite music of yours has always been the more introspective stuff. And we talked a little bit about journaling, and that's more commonplace and more popular and more trendy, I guess, now. And rap, for me personally, like, that has always been the part of the process that has motivated me, has just been the journaling and articulating that those thoughts and having that process happen is why I still, like, that's the only kind of rap that I still do now, is really just me processing that stuff and introspection. Like, how do you think your own music as an introspection tool and reflection tool has helped you?
It's kind of hard to say. Like, I think a lot of the therapeutic nature of music for me is more like the achievement of making something. That's like that's sort of the major part. It's not as much like I need to get all my feelings off my chest and on the page or something. But it definitely does, like, I think when you're writing raps, or when I'm writing raps, it's sort of this dual identity of, like, the rapper and actually you. And I think a lot of the writing is sort of like a tension of that's always sort of going on, and you're sort of like hyper reality, and then you're like actual life, and it's like what we've talked about a lot, like, sort of things will creep in, or it gives you this forum where you'll say something that's really honest about yourself, or that you haven't maybe thought of that way, or the process of writing has got you to some point where you actually hadn't really thought of things like that. That might sound a bit confusing, but do you know what I mean? Are you kind of like, you'll arrive at things, or almost like summarize a feeling in a line. So you'll summarize something that's about your life in one line, or about your whatever's happening, and then I guess that all helps at the end of the day, you know. But I guess that's what all my favorite rappers growing up sort of did. That it was sort of like the stuff I liked the most was sort of this chain of thought. That would be these guys like Nas or something, or the early Jay-Z stuff, and it's sort of like this grandiose, like, self-image, and then the next line will just be this, like, next level vulnerability, or I'm a piece of shit or something. And then, like, so it's all this, like, working on this. It's like this, complete introspection, and it is kind of like mining how you're dealing with life, you know. But because you are also, is this performance as well. It is a way that it sort of sneaks in there, you know.
Yeah. I mean, do you have any other forms of kind of self-therapy or reflection that you indulge in?
I mean, therapeutic stuff, it's more like exercise or something, or like, a lot of it's like exercise, listening to like podcasts or reading and that kind of stuff. But as of my own, I mean, being at university, there's a lot of like, you're just writing the whole time, doing that Bachelor of Arts especially, and so it's just writing in general, I think, really, really helps you deal with things. And it's like we're talking about, you just don't, a lot of the time is you're repressing things, not talking, and I guess writing is an outlet, and uni forces you to do that the whole time as well, you know?
But what about the a lot of artists especially have run into issues with mental health. Do you think, and this is potentially an unanswerable question, but do you think that's because artists go through their emotions, like through the process of art, so regularly, and then come across those things, like you said, those bits kind of sneak in that you weren't necessarily expecting, because sometimes those things aren't going to be good, right? It's going to be like, if it's that vulnerability, or it's that weakness, or it's that, some self, some self-hate or something like that sneaks in there. Do you think that's why so many artists have those issues, or do you think it's because to be an artist you kind of have to have that degree of empathy and potentially a bit more emotional, to kind of convert that emotion into art? It's kind of the chicken or the egg question. I don't know if there's a point to that question, really. It's just a pondering.
No, I don't think I have the answer for that, but I think I know what you mean. I think you artists in general have like a predisposition to being sort of more like just emotive people, So that's going to be a double-edged sword, You're going to like feel more emotion, if that's what. Yeah, so there's a lot of things with being an artist. Like, I think just the fact that society doesn't really validate your that as a profession, or it's unless you crack it, you go. So unless you're the absolute best in killing it, you're it's not real what you do. You just do a hobby, Then it sucks if that's what you're good at, is being artistic, and your only choice is to absolutely destroy everyone and be the best, and like be the one in 1,000 that can make a life out of it. That's depressing. Like, if you're just sitting there, like, this is what I'm good at. I know this is what I'm good at, and this is what my passion is, and I have no way to convert that into a life. So I think that's a big issue with just being an artist in general at anything. I think that has a lot to do with it. There's a lot of confounding things, I'd say. But that's definitely that's definitely what I've struggled the most with a lot of the times. It's just like I said, I didn't know what else to do, and I didn't have a passion for other things, and it's hard to convert that to an actual life, a profession.
Yeah, and again, I guess like back to that influencing factor, right? Like you had your mum there saying like, actually, you should do something that you love, not necessarily in those words, but had that belief there, which for a lot of other people who don't even necessarily get to the point of starting to try to be an artist, right? They probably still have, like, there's probably 999 other kids out there who had that urge to be creative, and they knew that they were good at rapping, or they knew they could be good at rapping, but just never tried to do it. For reason, like, well, what am I going to do? I'm not going to be Drake, so how am I going to help mum with the rent?
Exactly. Or even in New Zealand, where you could have a number one song, and like I said before, you can have a number one song and still not be able to pay the rent. Like, it's man, it's hard.
As Māori and Pacifica, and as men, we get exposed to a lot of that stoicism, kind of stiff upper lip expectation, like you're talking about before, and strong is good, and being aggressive is, and that's what's expected of you. And you've had your, while I said I enjoy your more introspective music, you've had your share of kind of in music beef as well. How important do you think that music has been for you as an outlet of aggression? And I say that because it's interesting seeing, watching all of us grow from being at times angry young men to the point of being able to control that anger and do something intentional and good with it. So I guess what's your thoughts on rap conflict and keeping it healthy, the benefits of it?
I think like the aggression nature you're talking about, I think it definitely is good when you can work out how to channel it into the music, just like people channel aggression through boxing or something. I feel the same with it with music. Like a lot of music, even in my later career, what I liked was I sort of liked putting in there like sort of provocative nature of making music and sort of pushing the edge of like how aggressive can it be, and it almost like approaching the music more like someone who's making a movie, and they just have like some insane violence in it or something. I kind of like that, being able to put that in music. So like, I think you're definitely right. Like it helps as an outlet for that. You can just get on a song and just, be as angry as you want about, or like arrogant as you want, and sort of get that out. And I think it helps a lot. I mean, rap beef with other people is like, that's a funny thing. I don't know if you like many people after like any type of beef. It's almost like it's like a lot of wrestling kind of. It's like it's not real, like, or it's just people getting like offended by nothing. And I don't know if you like after those things have happened. I doubt many people are like, man, that was awesome how we had that beef, or how I had that beef. You're kind of, so it's not as much that I don't love that part, but I definitely like channeling, being able to channel aggression into something. And I like it's the competitive nature of music as well, of hip hop music, that's cool. You're always trying to like be the best, or be better than the next dude. It's just natural. So yeah,
I guess I'll kind of clarify that as well for our kai whakarongo, our listeners. Like, I'm not talking about the wanton destruction, aggression. That I hear rap. I'm talking about when you're beefing with another rapper, and you are, like you said, it's more like wrestling. It's self-contained in a specific context, and there's moves, right? Like there's agreed ways that you can do it, and all going to plan. That stays there, and it doesn't go outside of that containment, outside of the genre or the medium of music, I guess. And it becomes it's essentially a sport. It's the same as running it up on the rugby field.
Yeah. It is. Music, rap especially, is a funny thing, because I think it's like I said before, it's kind of like a hyper reality. A lot of the times, there's the rapper, and then there's the actual you in the actual world, and it can get real like confused at times, But yeah, that's all part of rap.
And it's confusing for listeners as well, I guess. Like, if you think about the some of the kōrero, the kind of the conversations at the moment, especially around drill, like not that conversation hasn't happened a million times before already, but like there's a difference between there's gangsters who jump on into the genre as well and make music, and they were always acting like that. And that's quite different to jumping on a song and competing with another rapper and going in on them. Those are quite different things. Yeah,
it's even funnier in New Zealand. Like I think people see like overseas when there's like people beef or whatever, diss each other, and they're never going to see each other, and then in New Zealand we'll see that person walking down the street, so it's kind of a funny thing. But yeah, if it's like a healthy competition thing, that's just rap. Like, I love that kind of shit. Like, I even like. Did you watch the Michael Jordan documentary, The Last Dance? Did you watch it? There's this part in it where he plays this dude from the Bullets, and he says that this guy plays good. He's a no-name dude, and he plays good against the Bulls. And Michael Jordan says that he went up to him and told him, "Hey, good game," and it pissed Michael Jordan off. And then he went and told everyone in the interviewed him. He said, "Good game" to me, and it pissed me off. So he went and smoked him the next time. And then he says in the interview, he's like, "Yeah, I just made it up. I made it all up." He was like, he never said that. And he was like, he said he did it, and he was like, I just needed something to inspire me. I needed some edge to do it. And I think I cracked up because I think you even do that. I even do that with like rap. Like, if you like go down and make the song and sort of make things up or like someone's said something where you're like, that could be about me or something, and then you just push it to being about you, even though it's not about you. Or something. Do you know what I mean? Because you need something to like push you towards getting to another place, and inspiring you to write something like that, especially when you're just writing some like boastful rap,
Yeah. You need to be proving it to somebody, right?
Yeah. So you kind of have to sometimes create these situations.
That's crack up. Yeah. I just made up that whole conversation. But the placebo effect, and then I smoked them.
Yeah, you should watch it. It's funny how he explains how he's. Yeah, I just made it up because he's not embarrassed about it at all. He's just like, well, no, I needed that to kill him the next time.
Yeah, that's on the next 3 on my list of things to watch. Talking about role models, what's one role model you've had in life outside of music who made a real difference to how it turned out?
Role model. I mean, my biggest role model was always just my mum, I guess. Like, of people, I mean, role models that I actually knew. Definitely was my mum. Like, inspiration to, or sort of like, more so just of how to, her worldview, her like sort of like sense of justice or whatever. Yeah, that was kind of, and I still always, I mean, everything I do is sort of like influenced by her ideas, So definitely, I'm always thinking like, what would my mum think of this, or how? And it's sort of like a lot of the way that like society has developed over the last 10 years or something, and things my mum was always like going on about growing up, like it was to do with social injustice in a lot of different ways or anything. So yeah, it would definitely be my mum, role model wise.
What about a role model within music? And like you said that your mum was the biggest in terms of people that you knew. I guess just in thinking of terms of impact that you had. And so I'm interested to know if that was someone that you knew, or if it was, someone who you saw from afar. Which of those had the bigger impact?
Yeah, role model for, the role model for music in general, like of a famous person, was always Jay-Z. He's like, I got so into his music at high school that was always the dude that I was trying to emulate or whatever, So, but with role models, I had more like mentors than I'd say growing up. When I first got into music, like especially Pay Money, I was like insanely lucky that when my first album, this guy who's the best producer in New Zealand showed me how to make an album. I was in the, this like York Street Studios with him working on an album for like a few months, So definitely he was like a huge mentor. Dave as well, Dave Dallas. Like I'd say that's the way to explain it more. Like they were a step ahead of me, and they sort of showed me how to do things from my position. So as I was insanely lucky in those ways. Meet those two guys first. Sort of work closest with them early in my career, So yeah.
That's that is the definition of a mentor, right? Like someone who can actually say, I'm a little bit ahead of you, and I've got the capability and the desire to go, I'll show you how to get along to this point that I've got to. So I guess it's interesting to think of you. Like, do you ever think about the fact that you are now in that position, like not just in music, right? Like I think about like position being enjoyment and contentment and like living a life that you're happy living, right? Like you said before, like you kind of stoked with the position that you're in now. You're happy, you're married, you're studying, you don't have the regret of not doing music, and you've kept doing music at a super high level. Do you think of yourself as a role model now?
Role model is like a funny term.
Or mentor.
It's more like it is like a mentor thing, like, and definitely along the way I've made like a lot of huge mistakes. I definitely don't want people to, make the mistakes I've made. So, but like you said, I am really happy where I've got to, and I am proud of my career as a musician. So I'm definitely always keen to help people out, and just give advice where I can, or if people want to know the people that I feel like I have a connection with, or even at like university, like I know there were key things that got me. Like when I started university, I just started it. I wasn't thinking about a career at all. I just wanted like a structure in life, I wanted music was transitioning for me, how I was approaching music, and I was like, I need more of this daily structure. And then there were certain things that happened, like certain, like, I don't know, like a tutor or something that like, told me certain things along the way. And then there'll be younger students that I will help with now, because I just want to help them the same. I know that key thing, that guy told me that changed my whole perspective, you know what I mean? So I think you got to do things like that. You got to give back to help people along the way. And those people are so important when you look back at where you got to, like where I've got to with all these things. There's been people along the way that gave me a leg up,
Yeah, and I mean, it's like that, those two words, right? Like role model versus mentor. Like I always think of role model as being someone who, like, you don't necessarily have there actively showing you or holding your hand or saying like, hey, here's the step that I took. You can take that same step. But they kind of are indirectly, just by doing that thing and by being visible in what they do. And, like back to that kōrero that we were having before about like, New Zealand and especially again Māori and Pacifica, like the tall poppy thing that we have where, you don't talk about the stuff that you've done. Like that's where that hurts us, especially I think, and especially as Pacifica and as Māori. Like there's a whole bunch of role models that we have and a whole bunch of stats and a whole bunch of society's expectations, you being chased out of the store because, you're brown, like that we have to fight against, I think, by being those role models even, not necessarily for those people who aren't at uni in the same lecture theatre as you, like they still get to see you, right? Like, so there's still kids in Palmy who go, oh man, yeah, PNC's from here.
Yeah.
He made these mean albums and fuck, now he's studying at uni. Like I didn't think I would ever go to uni. Firstly, because it's not cool. Secondly, because no one that I know has done it. But like PNC's like me.
Yeah. I think it's like you say, it's like a lead by example sort of thing. And like I said, a lot of my career is sort of, I guess when you start out music, there's probably this idea of like what success is, and it's this, I'm going to go number one, and then I just, you think I'll change everyone's lives with my albums, it's not really, and then anything other than that you think of it would probably be a failure. So I guess, I guess I'd say that like, you can actually not have to achieve to that superstar status or something, have a long career, and I can tell you where I got to, I'm real happy with it, and yeah, I guess in that way be an example to stick at it,
Comes down to what we're talking about, like the process, right? Like if your motivation is the process, then it doesn't actually matter what the level of success, like that is the success. Like you completing the process, finishing the mahi, doing that thing, like that's success, right? Yeah,
and I noticed that in a lot of the dudes I know that are still doing it, have been doing it this long. That's what their motivation is. Like like Peter T, he just loves writing and recording, David Dallas, all the same dudes. Like I think they all have that same. That's what inspires them, and if that, like you're saying, if that will never end. Like it's not up to anyone else. It's just you making the music, Yeah.
I mean, bro, you said before that part of your self therapy is reading. what's a book that you would gift a friend or that you've gifted to a friend?
I think a couple that I read recently. There's this one. I think a lot of people like this one. It's like Ta-Nehisi Coates, Between the World and Me. Yeah, I actually got into his stuff. I read an article he did on Kanye West, which was just next level writing. I was like, man, I need to read more from this dude. But that's an amazing book, and that inspired me heaps when I started uni. So his one, there's this one, Range, by this guy David Epstein, which I actually got a lot out. Yeah, I got a lot out of that because it was had a lot about, like, I mean, the whole book. The main thing about the book is a different idea to that. It's only you focus on one thing and that's it, and it's sort of like seeing how people who have are into a lot of different things actually really succeed at something, and a lot of the time succeed later in life, which is it connected with me on that. Like the start of the book's about the difference between how Tiger Woods grew up to just, everything's golf, as opposed to Roger Federer, who was into like different sports and how that into music and all this kind of stuff, and they reckon how they both killed it, but in different ways. So that book I really loved, and probably this one I just recently read was this guy, and I think this should be taught in schools. But there's this book called The Myth of Race by this guy Sussman, and it's just like a timeline of race. And I was like, this should just like how the concept of race came about, and it's it's not a opinion. It's just like this is how we came to this point about race, thinking of race, and I think that should be like taught in schools probably. Like I think that's a massive issue is people, the difference between race being people think it's sort of this like biological division when it's really an idea. Race is an idea, So that, I love that book. So about any of those three.
I think you might have actually recommended that Range one.
Right. Yeah.
It was one on my Goodreads list.
Yeah, definitely. It's good. I liked it.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. I like the because there is that concept, that perception out there of, to be good at a thing, and you have to, like, and someone said it to me the other day, like, you can only do one thing, you can do one thing good in life, right? Like that, you need to focus on a thing, you need your 10,000 hours,
10,000 hours,
master that thing. And it's like, well, actually, like it kind of depends again on what your motivation is, right? Like if your motivation is the process of doing that thing, and you love actually doing it, like you can do as many things as you want, like as many things as you have time to spend on that thing. And that was one thing I found with music, and this turned this podcast into Perceive's reminiscence of his when he tried to go hard in his rap career. It was that like realization of I only need to do music enough to process the things that are at the top most, that are topmost in my mind or my heart. Like that's what I'm using music to do, to process those things. So I kind of went super hard right after I had my car accident, because I had a bunch of shit that obviously I needed to process after that. But then I kind of realized that like that's all I need to do. Like I don't need to have any kind of actual career success or
right.
Out every quarter or whatever. But if I had followed that belief, that conventional wisdom of I should be honing in on this rap thing and just doing that, then I would have never started trying to write fiction or doing the other things that I do at the moment.
Exactly. It's like if it didn't work out, then you're just like, oh shit, now I have to start all over again. But
what am I?
But that book is sort of like has a lot of these examples of people that like who did the Harry Potter books? J.K. Rowling, is it? Like how she had done all these other jobs, and then at like 40 or whatever, she wrote Harry Potter, but all these other jobs she'd sort of taken little bits from all these jobs that got her to that point, where she was just, and I think they're both kind of right, but it's how they work for different people, you know?
Yeah.
And there's interesting things in that book, like how you measure, well, like things like people who leave university or something, and there's this idea of failure, whereas it's actually, if you realize it's not what you want to do, it's the right thing to do, you know? But yeah. And how there's this funny put in it, how they measure, it's guys like some Marine, when you become a Marine or something, and it tests these, how they test them out, and they put them through these like real grueling, like physical tests. But they're like, it doesn't actually test whether they're going to be like good Marines. It just tests that they can are real good at like grinding through pain for a while. And I think it showed that the guys that got the highest score in that would often be the ones that would leave, because
they'd gone within 2 years or whatever.
Yeah, and they'd be confused, like, why'd they get the highest score and then it wouldn't work out? It's because like the actual test is, what are you actually testing? Like, you know what I mean? There's no like exact, just because they're good at that doesn't mean they're going to be good at this, you know? So I like that book.
And then just a couple of just all-encompassing universal questions. What would you tell 21-year-old Sam?
Oh, fuck. A lot of shit, but...
Remember, I knew 21-year-old Sam. So.
Yeah. Probably just, I mean, in a broad sense, it's just like... to focus more, I guess. Like... it's a hard thing to say, like... But it would be just like, be more focused in what you're doing. That might sound kind of like random, but I think you're just kind of like, when you're young, you just kind of like cruise along, and you know, I guess there's later in life you're like, you could have done more, you know. So just sort of apply yourself more, I guess, you know, because life's short, you know. Just be more focused. That was it. That's the learning, right? Like, you don't, like, when you're 21, life goes on forever. Yeah, exactly. 21, you're like, man, I'm going to be this age for like the next 40 years probably. You're like, you never think, you just think you're always going to be 21, you know? Then when you hit 30, shit goes real fast. You're like, how am I already 36? But...
And for everybody else too, right? Like, like I won't get too somber on it, but I have on my blackboard a quote saying that make the most, like everyone you love will die. Enjoy your time with them. And that, like, telling that to a 21-year-old me or a 21-year-old you would be like, oh, calm down, because you don't realize how true that is, and that the 10 years or 9 years between 21 and 30, like. You could be spending all of those, with people you love or doing things you love or whatever.
Yeah. And I think that's what I mean by focus. Like, it's not that like, oh man, you should have like achieved way more. It's just sort of been like, I guess that's the one word I think of. Like, just make the most of time more. Yeah.
And I'm probably biased by, like I said, I caught up with Jace Te Patu yesterday, and we talked heaps about mindfulness, and it's really just that, right? Like, if I was giving the same advice to 21-year-old me, it would be that be mindful. That's a word. That's the same idea, I think. But again, like when I was 21, like, what is mindful? Like I meditate every day now. Like, you're not telling 21-year-old me nothing. But even you've actually invalidated yourself the minute you said that you meditate every day. So don't talk to me.
Exactly, but it wasn't much meditation happening on Cuba Street back in the day.
No, it wasn't. Not a lot of next door to Indigo. All right, last question. If you could insert one thought in the mind of everyone in Aotearoa, what would it be?
One thought. I guess what I try to tell myself the most is sort of like, be more sort of like empathetic in general. Like, I thought like a good way to explain it was when I went to the States. When a lot of time when you drive and someone does something dumb in front of you, and you just like beep your horn and you're real pissed off at them, and you're like, that person's an idiot. Like, what the fuck are they doing? And I still feel like that. But then when I was in the States and I drove around, and I was driving on the wrong side of the road. I found it really hard, and I do mental shit while I'm driving, and then quite a lot of the time people would just like stop, and then they just kind of look at me, and they wouldn't actually get that mad. They were just like, okay. But I thought of that was real different to New Zealand. We got mad road rage here, but it kind of made me think like, it put me in that position. Like, they actually probably, I'm just having a hard time turning around or something, and they're not going crazy at me. And then it changed my thinking to like, now when I see someone doing something mental, it kind of goes through my head first, like, they're not trying to do that. They're not doing
I'm
this.
Gonna get him.
They're not
I'm gonna get him now.
Oh, here comes Sam. Fuck, I'm sick of this. Fuck, watch me do this and piss him off. Where
I'm a dick. I'm such a dick.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of like a way of explaining how to like think about other people before jumping to conclusions, or just thinking about other people more in general, than just yourself. So that's it. Yeah. Try to think more with empathy. Yeah.
Think more with empathy. And it's funny, like, and you notice that wherever you go, right? Like I definitely noticed it in the States, the traffic thing, and then when you get into like we went to Turkey, and the roads there were just bananas, but same thing, like, people would just switch lanes, and the cars behind them, I was like, whoa, like cars behind them didn't beep, like nothing. No. It was just like I think in New Zealand we have a real we've got in heaps of different ways, we're a super immature society, right? Like in actual age, like we're young as compared to heaps of other places. And I think that's like our traffic culture is super immature, and so we still we don't think of anybody except ourselves on the road. We're like, man, that person just cut me off. Whereas it always seems like these other places like Turkey and in Asia and in the States, like they actually think as a system and as a society on the road. Whereas us, like, it's me here, that's it. Like, what are you guys doing on my road? Get off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that guy's nowhere near as good a driver as I am, obviously. Like,
obviously.
Yeah, I know, man. But that's why it was just this one moment when I was over there. I was like, oh, true, that's how it must feel to be. It's not actually just this like mad competition where we all have to like go nuts at each other. New Zealand's probably a little bit as well. We're not very confrontational, and then when you're in a car, you can have beef and then drive off straight away. And you like you can exert.
Never happened.
You can exert the aggression. They should just be rapping more next time.
Exactly. Need more channeling. Need more contained, contextualized channeling. There you go. Yeah, three C's.
Next time someone yells at you on the road, just tell them they need to make a song. They need to
rap it to me. Rap it to me, or it doesn't count.
That's it.
Well, that's the end of my questions, bro. Did you have anything else anything else that kind of snuck in or came to you while we were having a yarn that you want to share? You have literally just shared the one thing you want to put in everybody's mind in New Zealand, so that might be enough.
No, I think I'm good, bro. It's all good. Good to catch up.
Yeah, bro. Well, thank you for sharing, and thank you for like I said, being a role model for all of our Manawatu and Pacifica and Halfcaste, and people who look brown and look like they might have stolen that magazine out there, that see you doing choice stuff and loving your life, because whatever the genre is and whatever the pathway is, like that's the thing that matters, right? Like you said, life's short and you might as well enjoy it. So it's choice to see you role modeling that and showing us that we can do it.
Well, good, man. No, thanks, bro. Thanks for that.
Kia ora e ho mā. Pera, again, one last thing before you go. If you've enjoyed the episode, don't forget to hit subscribe on your podcast player so that you can hear about the new episodes as we release them. And if you know anybody else that you think might enjoy the kōrero, please leave a review either in iTunes or your podcast player to let others know what the podcast's about, what the kōrero is about, and that it's worth their time listening to. Kia ora.